Well, I was going to hang up my Elder Quest shingle after winter class last March
No
in
way.
deference to a progressive hearing loss and age in general. And after a dozen or more years teaching an Elder Quest class. But then I was drafted to teach this fall. And last year I was provided a hearing assistant who fields questions from the class for me and will provide that service this fall, maybe in winter. I said I would also teach the class if I could focus on Hugh Nibley, who nearly alone was responsible for the resurrection and reading of the Book of Mormon for Latter-day Saints. And there's a new book out just a few months ago, 800 pages, Nibley Observed. And I'll tell you how to get a hold of that book. The reason it's called Nibley Observed is that there's a video available online called Nibley, Hugh Nibley, The Faith of an Observer. And you can bring that up and I'll recommend it if you just simply go to your computer. In any case, this is an 800-page book, very readable. Just a few hours ago, I came from the ice rink and I was skating with a good friend of mine down there, she is not a reader. And a few months ago, I lent to her about a dozen copies of Nibley's articles, and she can't stop talking about Hugh Nibley. And she started reading him. How many of you remember when the Book of Mormon was hardly mentioned in the church? There was only one general authority, John A. Widsoe, who was the son of a Norwegian widow, former president of both the University of Utah and Utah State University, then called it wasn't called Utah State University then. And then he became a member of the Quorum of the 12 and he began to write articles in the Old Improvement era, some of them about Book of Mormon. And then in 1948, Hugh Nibley began publishing articles in the Old Improvement era. How many of you remember those? I discovered these articles while I was somewhat of a semi-educated farm kid in southern Idaho, and I read them passionately. Then in 1957, on my mission in southwestern France, David O. McKay designated a scholarly book on Hugh Nibley as the manual for the Melchizedek priesthood. And I was in southwestern France at the time, and I bought a copy through the Paris Mission Home and added it to a half a footlocker full of books that I carried around on my mission. Then under Harold B. Lee, the basic beginning course at BYU and other colleges, seminaries, and institutes, the Book of Mormon became, for Latter-day Saint students, the standard course for some 40 years. How many attended that class? If you went to BYU, you did. And in the last, since 1980s, President Benson never stopped talking about the Book of Mormon. And now President Nelson has emphasized again for Latter-day Saints the reading of the Book of Mormon. It turns out that the Book of Mormon is a tract for our time. 130 million copies of the Book of Mormon have been published and distributed worldwide. In the Americas, probably second only to the Bible, 130 million copies. It's the keystone to the religion of the Latter-day Saints, and it is saturated with temple imagery. If you want to understand temples, you read the Book of Mormon. When I teach this class this fall, there will be a handout for every weekly class, and it will contain a list of readable books by and about Hugh Nibley. If you're interested in these handouts and you aren't attending my class and would like to, I'm sitting over there, and you can give me your email address. I'm sending out an email later this week. And you need to check, if you want a copy of this book, I'll tell you how to get it. You can get it by interpreter.com and also by FAIR, which is a Latter-day Saint group called Faith. FAIR stands for Faithful Answers, Informed Response. So if you want to know, and if you want to know what's happening in our world today, especially in the United States of America and in the Americas in general, read the Book of Mormon. It's all there, better than television, better than radio, better than newspapers. It tells us in great explicit detail what's happening in our world. Hope to see you there.